Welcome to Creepalachia. I wanted to do a quick take here on this new Dateline NBC promotion with Natalie Cochran. I'm going to crack a Diet Coke here because I don't know how long this is going to go, but I'm sensing some trouble in the midst. And I just want to make sure if I'm being over precautious or, what the deal is. But so the trailers have been releasing, and most of all, they've been pretty solid. They've gotten the narrative right. There's no misinformation that I'm hearing. But I did see this one that started out with Stephanie Hamilton, and everyone did an awesome job. I think this is the person. What's her name? Andrea Moore. I'm so sorry if I get the name wrong. But anyway, so they're doing a story tonight at 9 p.m. And the more coverage this case gets, the better. It's nothing to do with that. I did see one thing that concerned me that I felt the need to come on here and address and go ahead and put to bed. And it's the fact that it looks like they have an interview with Matthew Victor, which is fine. I'm not against doing this. I'm not against talking. It's the clip that they played that concerns me, which I'm going to play real quick so you can hear.
Bottom line is that they had no why, when, and how.
So this is a problem for me because this isn't objective. She's been convicted. She's gotten life without parole, without mercy. So we know for a fact this is what, this isn't storytelling to me. I get you have to have the good with the bad, but no, this lady was convicted of murdering her husband, Michael Brandon Cochran, with insulin. We don't need to play around, with this. Oh, but they didn't have this. No, yes, they did, Mr. Victor. They 100% did, and I'm getting ready to walk through that in a second. But I just want to let Dateline know that I'm going to meticulously break this down, and I hope you fact-checked, because if there's some games that's going to be played against this family of Michael Brandon Cochrans that have already been through so much, if they are shown in any other way but the truth, I'm going to make it my business to make an individual video about everything you potentially get wrong. But now, then again, I may be wrong. This may be, good journalism, just the facts, all of the above. But if I hear Matthew Victor on there and he doesn't get checked on why, the when, and the how right there, I'm going to be highly upset because it's simple. The why. Michael Brandon Cochran found out about the financial scheme. I know, I know twins like to get in the courtroom and just be like, oh, it's not about the financial crime. Actually, it very much is. And there's text evidence to prove this. There's text evidence of Michael Cochran fighting with Natalie Cochran about a sewer bill the day before he was poisoned. And what I mean by that is there's text messages going and saying, or Michael's basically, this isn't verbatim, but saying, I don't understand why we don't have the money to pay a freaking sewer bill. And basically they fight until Natalie just stops responding. That was on February 5th. Okay. There's mountains of other evidence as to why. And I suggest you go watch the Chris Davis episode because we go through this thing called Monday Fridays that is a theory that Chris and his business partner has proposed that Natalie would go from Monday to Fridays. Monday, she would say, well, the bank's going to be doing an ACH or, whatever the plan is, or the government's going to get back to me by Friday. Friday would come, nothing. Natalie would say, oh, yeah, they let me know it would be Monday. So then that gets us through the weekend. And this is how it carried on from October all the way up until Michael was poisoned. Now, it continues after that. The raid actually happened in June. So from February to June, Chris Davis and several people were questioning Natalie about the money. Where is it at? What's going on? And Natalie would always defer to different reasons. One reason being her fake blood cancer that she said she had starting in January, which is a part of this whole Monday, Friday theory. She would do different things to give her additional time. And part of that too, which I forgot about and Chris mentioned, was the government shutdown, which by the grace of government, Natalie got awarded in December of 2018. So that gave her some time to say, well, the government's shut down. There's nothing I can do, knowing that she didn't have one contract. There's also evidence in Chris Davis's spreadsheet that Natalie, it had a bunch of letters and numbers in these contracts. Each one would be labeled this way. And Chris was like, well, let's try to look these up. And he couldn't find them anywhere. Well, they started going in and kind of, hacking, just changing letters and numbers in those contracts to see if any would ping. And they actually got some contracts to ping to where they actually did exist. Only Natalie would change the letters and numbers so people wouldn't get wise, because after they're awarded, you'll see who they're awarded to. So it's pretty simple. Michael found out Natalie was stealing money, and it's proven by evidence in which your client, Mr. Victor, was convicted. So I suggest that you kind of just go off into the sunset and leave this case alone, because every time you say that, it just makes you look silly. Now, we got the win. Him saying there's no win. Well, it was February 6th. And I believe at 11:30 a.m., if you go back, answer this, Mr. Victor, if you can. Why was Natalie using Michael's phone? Why was she texting other people as Michael that day? We proved this with evidence during the Chris Davis episode, and there's also a clip. It's called Bombshell Natalie Cochran Text Evidence, if you want to check it out on our channel. But there's a clip of us talking about and proving Natalie, for a fact, was using Michael's phone as Michael after he was unconscious. So explain to me how that happened. And, it's obvious. We all know when. Regardless of anything, we know when Michael fell ill and was poisoned and ultimately died. Now, you may not think it was poisoned. I know you all have mentioned crazy things about not being able to OD on insulin in court, which is insane because there are mountains of evidence the size of Mount Everest saying several cases where people have actually died of insulin overdose. So it's just silly. I mean, you hear that one thing, and I ultimately do not listen to anything else you have to say. Now, we got the how. Okay, we know how he died. Now, I know you like to say, well, it was never proven there was an injection, and you all even showed a decomposed photo of Michael's body 7 months after he died in court, trying to say that you can't tell there's no tumors on his pancreas, trying to insinuate that maybe his insulin was high because of tumors, which is bananas that you would even think this was a good tactic in the courtroom. It's not in the first place. At the same time, it's ludicrous because that Michael's glucose was 21. The Mexican anabolic story is a lie because there's emails of Natalie Cochran going back and forth with this bottle of enclomiphene, going back and forth with this company out of Florida in August of 2018. Now, it's my opinion, she started planning this in August of 2018. Now, these things I'm getting ready to mention are speculation, but Michael fell ill in October. Now, again, in the Chris Davis episode, we walked through this meticulously, but he fell ill in October, same kind of odd way. I don't think insulin was involved here, but he was throwing up. He actually asked Chris Davis to take him to the hospital, in which the defense during the trial was saying Michael didn't want to go to the hospital. He hated hospitals. There's 2 different times where he told Chris Davis in October, in the fall of 2018, to go to the hospital. So answer me why that is. So his sugar was 21. We know Natalie had insulin. We know it had a puncture mark. We know she got it that morning. We know she mentioned it on text message asking Jennifer Davis to borrow the insulin that morning. We know that Natalie is a diabetes educator. Why does she wait around for 9 hours, Mr. Victor? Why does she wait around? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because Natalie knew his brain was going to swell and he was going to ultimately die. And she was thinking, why won't he die every time he had these episodes? You may hate to hear that, but that's the truth and that's what you're defending. And you need to know about it because she's a murderer. She's a liar. She's a con artist. She's an extortionist. And she's your client and was your client. She's not your client no more. So I'd stop talking because, now if your plan is try to keep on fueling this to make incompetent counsel or whatever it is, you do you. But I think that's a terrible idea for you to do. So I would suggest you just leave this alone. Again, everyone out there, I'm not sure what Dateline's doing. I've heard different things about the production. I'm holding high hopes that they're going to get this story right because it needs to be portrayed in the national media because we have to quit these insulin murders. And the more we talk about this, the more someone's going to think, hey, so-and-so died this way. Maybe I should look into this. Or, hey, all you potential insulin murderers out there, don't try it because there's plenty of tests to prove it. And you better stop before you get LWOP like your girl in Hazleton. So let's stop the games. She is convicted, life without parole, and let's tell the truth or not speak at all because that's the only thing that needs to happen. Now, if you all are trying some making a murderer situation, I welcome the opportunity to pick this apart because I will make it my life's mission to show you exactly why your journalistic methods are trash. If you do something like that, not that Dateline's going to. 2020 did a great job, a really good job. They told a good story. They gave a good overview to the national audience. Now it's Dateline's turn. Dateline's doing something different. They're interviewing Matthew Victor, which we'll see how it goes. But I'm telling you, if he don't get checked, if you're not on there like, well, actually, you said this. The truth is this, and we have medical experts to back it up. If you all don't do that, I'm just saying, of course, my following is way smaller than yours, but we're going to make a lot of noise, and we're going to make sure people know the truth that Natalie Cochran murdered her husband, Michael Brandon Cochran, with insulin. She gave him a shot on February 6th. The reason she did this is because Michael found out about her financial scheme. And this is proven by text message. You talk about mountains of circumstantial evidence. I don't know how you can, other than having her thumbprint on a disposed needle. And that would not even help. She'd be like, well, I just gave it to so-and-so's son. Blah, blah, blah. And I won't mention whose son. It's not so-and-so. Obviously, y'all know it's Chris Davis, but yeah, I mean, this is getting silly. Now, maybe I'm overreacting by one sentence, but I'm just telling you, it will ignite the most passion I've ever had in my life than to prove whoever tells some false or misinformation out there to prove that they're wrong. So just be ready. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure it's a great story. 95% of this trailer, fantastic. Got it right. Donna looks amazing. Everyone's spoken really well. It's shot really well. But this right here.
That they had no why, when, and how.
That is a pile of trash. And anyone who wants to try and throw this at me, I will gladly pick your brain apart for the next 47 minutes. And I invite you to check the playlist of interviews we've done with over 40 hours of people. We have purchased all 720 exhibits from the evidence that we've been releasing with WikiLeaks. Everything that comes out just makes this look sillier and sillier and sillier. So, long live Appalachia. You all be sure to join tonight. I'm going to do a review show at 11 p.m. And hopefully it's just reviewing and, give a glowing review to Dateline on how amazing of a job they did and how they fact-checked everyone that tried to spew mistruths. But we'll see. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to Creepalachia if you haven't already. We've got a podcast on Apple and Spotify, and be sure to check back for all these solo stories and review shows. And I appreciate you all, and I'll end it again with everyone always remembering, above all else, long live Appalachia.